I've been on the agency side for a long time, and I've been on the client side, and so this was a fascinating experience for me in the act of listening and not participating, because I just have so many emotions now coming up from past experiences. I'm a little chagrined that we ended on that, how do you celebrate, and there was a big, long, pregnant pause. I worked in the drinks industry, so we celebrated everything, and I guess I'd like to transmit the importance of that, celebrating. You don't have to celebrate with drinks, but it does make it nice. Celebrate, but don't just celebrate at the end, celebrate all those important gate points, the checkpoints, every little advancement, because it will help propel you and it'll help you deal with all the uncertainty that comes along on these journeys. Celebrating is an important thing. The other thing I guess I just wanted to reflect on for a minute, part of, I think, what makes a project work in an organization is when you can manage the expectations of your internal stakeholders and get them to understand. A lot of research or innovative projects start out with a big ambition and then you go away quietly and do it, and maybe a year goes by, depending on your timelines and what you're doing, and then you come back with some results and people don't even remember what it was all about. So communicating the process along the way and having little updates even when there's no data is one of the ways that you can keep your stakeholders engaged and understand the risks that they're taking and kind of come along with you on the journey even if they're not technicians in any way, shape, or form. And my other comment on this, just because I have a lot to say on the subject, and I've got the microphone, so why not, is that one of the most exciting and impactful projects that I was ever involved on, and a colleague from that project is actually here and we're reminiscing on it. But part of it is a client working with a vendor who is a true partner. And the communication, not just to your stakeholders internally, but to your partner, that we're going to do this together and that there's a trust there. So it's not just about on the client side having that credibility and having that professional ability to get people to believe, but it's also about really believing in your partner and truly working as a partnership. If you're just trying the latest flavor and the new and the what's out there, you might not make the same impact as when you're really working in partnership with people. So those are my little 2 cents. Again, only because I have the microphone. But really I'm here to introduce our next speakers. And Ben and Nico just flew in this morning from Germany. And they, if you weren't here last year, a year ago, they won the competition here for Innovative Company. So what they're going to do is talk to us. Nico in the Imagine It, See It. He has a PhD from London School of Economics, so he imagines and sees things that the rest of us maybe don't. And on the Do It, they won the Innovation Award last year, and they're going to talk about what's changed in a year in putting technology in the insight space. So here you go. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Can you hear me? Is that the mic working well? So it's great to be here. As some of you know, we won the competition last year. Very proud of that, and very grateful to Greg and Lenny of inviting us again to speak a bit about where we are, what has happened over the past year, where we come from, why we do what we do. I should say a little caveat. Usually when we do presentations, it's a lot of graphs and charts, and this is the first presentation that I do that consists almost entirely of images. So let's see how that goes. Let's start with why we do what we do, and I'll go later into what we do. One of the things, there were 2 things that we thought of about 2.5 years ago. One of the things that fascinated us, it might seem trivial to you guys since you're in the industry, but we weren't, is that everything societies do is based on choices to some extent. And choices in the aggregate or individual choices. So what politicians we vote for, whether we go to war, what we buy, and whether we are stuck in a traffic jam. And then the second thing that inspired us to found this company was that for the first time in human history, there are billions of people who constantly have a device in their pocket through which you can reach them and through which you can ask them questions. So that fascinated us, just the pure idea of being able to reach millions, billions of people, ask them questions, and understand what makes societies tick, understands how people function in the aggregate. So we got together. This is Fernando on the right side, an engineer, built a platform in the ad tech space, very successful company. And we got together and thought, how can we build a company, a technology that can do that, right? We started off with the idea of an app, dropped it after a couple of weeks because we didn't see the scalability. And then we were asking ourselves, what else can we do? How can we reach people at a massive scale, ideally without collecting all their personal information, but just casually, we're interested in what they think, what they want to do, what makes them tick. And then we said, okay, there's a huge infrastructure out there, hundreds of thousands of apps, hundreds of thousands of mobile websites. Why don't we get in there, similar to the ad tech space does, just with a different purpose, with the purpose of asking people questions. So we started building a platform where we can essentially buy traffic, similar as a performance marketer would do. And instead of showing people an ad, we said, answer a few questions. This was the first time we went live in Indonesia. We started experimenting in the 5 biggest countries, and then we started experimenting with emerging economies that were particularly interesting for us. So this is our first office, Katharina, David, and Hans. A very happy moment when we turned on a switch and suddenly could ask people in Indonesia what they thought about whatever we made up a few hours before that. What followed was the difficult part then. Because it's not easy, but we found a way to ask people questions. But what is difficult is then make sense out of it. Do they tell the truth? How do they behave? Who are they? How do we profile them? How do we make sense out of everything? So we built, and this took a year, a whole infrastructure to understand people based on how they click, based on how long they take, based on their consistency, building trust indicators, comparing them to other people, looking at different countries, how they function, looking at different channels in different countries, different formats, different questions, all these things we had to figure out in order to make sense out of it. Seeing how we can optimize the system so it doesn't become too expensive because you can spend a lot of money in that space, and starting to build a company. We ended up with 30, 40 countries where this could be done reliably, and we're very proud of it. And then we had to find a business model. That was in 2014, end of 2014. These are pretty images with a bit of a difficult story, because what we said, okay, let's then go to our natural clients, which would be the market research industry. We had no idea what market research is, so we started writing emails. Hey, you know, we do this in X countries, and we got 2 reactions. That was in Germany, I must say. We got 2 reactions. One was, this is really interesting, tell us more about it, and then we engaged in endless conversation explaining everything without then getting any business, which of course is important as a startup because you need to kind of show that it works. And the other reaction was, 90 countries, we don't care. Give us people at a Chinese wedding who eat chocolate. Give us Indonesians who live in Germany and remit money to Indonesia. Give us young mothers who just had a baby in South Africa. Of course, we couldn't do it. It was very difficult. So we sat there again, thinking, okay, this is fascinating what we do, but why don't they want it? Like, why doesn't it work with the industry? And these were for us what we thought of the easy clients. Then we went back to thinking, and then we said, let's just do what we want to do. Let's just continue with what we do best, and then did some projects ourselves. So one was a study in China. There are more diabetics in China than in the US and Europe together. So we wanted to find out who has risk of diabetes. It's a huge killer disease, and did something in China to also experiment how China works. We did a study, research study in Germany, presented that in Munich at the Research and Results. We expanded our reach to 60, 70 countries, and we started something that I'm very passionate about. We started a project where we pretend Europe is one country, because that really works well for our technology. So we just said, okay, let's pretend Europe is a country, build hundreds of quota cells, demographic cells, and from Cyprus to Denmark, get people in and ask them questions. And that was a lot of fun. Then 2015 was a really good year for us, because it started with us being here, kind of, presenting this some of the work we've done, and we won the competition. So this gave us a little lift and made us happy. Then Esoma invited us to speak about the diabetes project in China at their APEC conference in Singapore. So that was another nice thing. And then things happened quite quickly. We did a funding round with some great investors, Wellington Partners and the Investment Bank of Berlin. Gave us the resources to hire more people, to build a bigger team, get expertise in data science, machine learning. Marcus on there, who worked at Google for 7 years. Dan Foreman came aboard as an advisor, and that really made us got us going. So it kind of started a year ago here at this conference, which is why I love to be here. The Europe project, this is about client success, so I briefly want to talk about this project. It's a pet project of ours, but we also run it now regularly. And one of our best partners in this is the Bertelsmann Foundation. Bertelsmann is Europe's biggest media conglomerate, and they have a foundation looking into policy-related issues. So they were interested, with the whole refugee crisis going on in Europe, what Europeans actually think about refugees. Is the German stance fine? Is it not? Well, what do people think? Would they want? Are they in line with politics or not? And what we found, or what they found, that they had a question in there about the distribution of refugees, equal distribution over Europe. And we found a huge support for this policy, which they then published, the Bertelsmann Foundation. And it was one of the biggest stories, that was actually just 2 weeks ago, of that program. It was printed all over Germany, in all news magazines. It was read by 6-7 million people. It was discussed widely at the European Commission. Of course, they are very happy. We're very happy because we have fun doing this and producing something impactful. So this was a beautiful experience for us. And lots of fun. And then something even better happened. We needed someone to look more seriously after the commercial side. And then when SSI bought Instantly, I had a call with Ben, and I said, Ben, we need someone here. I knew he was passionate about mobile, about new methodologies, about data, about exploring new ways, pushing boundaries, seeing how far we can get. And then very quickly we came to an agreement. So I welcome Ben to me on the stage and to the Dalia family, which is very good for us. I'm very proud of that.
Thanks, Nico. So I've been here 2 weeks. So I don't really have much to say or pitch about Dalia because I'm still learning. What Nico just shared with you is pretty much what he shared with me. So that initial call and then a couple of days in Berlin was more or less this talk track, and what got me excited was the passion, but it also, it's about the scale of data. And it was something that I stood on this stage a year ago and talked about for Instantly was River is not a bad thing. I was talking about big data and how the industry's kind of scared of it. And so all of the things that I wanted that business to be doing, Nico kind of wants to do. So for me, it was a really quick and really simple decision. What I would say is that we're at base camp right now. So a couple of trials and errors, some failure, some success. We think we've built a nice foundation to build on. The trick is that you cannot walk up a mountain like this. It doesn't work. Every time you try and get from base camp to the top of the mountain, you'll have different paths to follow. You may come across a dead end. You may have to reverse and go back and go another direction. So we're still experimenting, we're still explorers. We will look at data science. I think Jane Frost at the MRS this morning, she said that big data is absolutely useless and it's all about smart data. I agree. So data science helps us take that big data and make it smart. Then we'll look at data visualization. Well, how can we help clients see that data? How can we make sense of it? So there are so many things that we want to try. Some will work, some won't work, but we have some plans. Maybe, who knows, maybe we take on some more funding. The beautiful thing about funding is it helps you climb the mountain faster, but then if you take a wrong turn, it can be quite a dangerous thing to do. So all of those things we'll play with over the next 12 months. But for me, it was a really, really exciting story. And I like the fact that we've succeeded, but I like the fact that we've failed too. And I think that's the message here, for me anyway, for anyone that is innovating, and this is the Innovation Exchange, don't be afraid to fail. And we failed a couple of times, and it's only by doing that that we found our path, and by failing again, we'll find the next path. So the last slide, I guess, is a little sales pitch, simply because the call for questions for the Europe project is almost at an end for the March wave. But if there are people here that would be interested in participating, then we'd be open to that. We are probably going to look at Brexit this time round as one of the topics. Something I'm British, I'm quite keen to understand whether us Brits really want to be in the EU or not. I think we say we want to leave, and I think we'll vote to stay. Just my feeling. So we've got 4 waves of that coming up, and we'd love some thoughts and some ideas as we test and learn the model and see what else we want to do. So it's been an exciting 12 months from us. It's exciting 2 weeks for me, and we'll see what the next 12 months holds. But don't be afraid to innovate, guys. That's my message. Thank you.
Got any questions? We've got time for a couple of questions. Can't really see it all, but I know there's people I can hear. Seriously? We're researchers and we can't ask a question? Come on. Okay, it is Friday afternoon, I'll give you that.
It just means we did a really good job.
Very clear, very convincing, very compelling. No, thank you very much. It's a great honor to have you guys come back. I know it was a burden to travel when you had to be in Germany yesterday, but thank you for being here. It's really cool to see an award-winning company from last year and how that's changed the mindset and what's still to come, because the mountain's huge.
It is.
Thank you.
Thank you.